Welcome back to the show. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. You will not regret it, I promise. Once again, I'm Tom Marks, here now with James Davenport, our associate editor.
Hello.
And Tyler Wilde, our executive editor.
Also, hello.
So you guys, I assume, were watching. Otherwise, you hate me and you don't want to hear me talking.
I wasn't watching.
No.
Because I had work to do.
Nah,
But,
I was watching, making sure everyone's behaving in the comments. Good job, everybody.
You just approved of the chat?
They were pretty good.
They were
nice.
tame?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, they can be not tame. It's okay. Tim Schafer was here. It's worth being excited about.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting. I really was happy that he got into some details about the game and, like, kind of the form it's going to take. I was really excited to hear that it's another smaller world
Right.
with people to jump in. People to jump in. I guess that is actually correct.
That's what to do
Yeah.
in that game.
So, James, you played Psychonauts, and you're a big fan of Psychonauts.
Yeah, many times.
And I am as well, as I embarrassingly revealed at the end of that stream. Tyler, did you ever play, or?
I have played Psychonauts.
Yeah.
I'm not a Psychonauts super fan.
Okay.
Like
That's
the two to my right.
Yeah.
But
That's still fair. But yeah, it was really encouraging to hear that they want to keep the tone the same, that they want to keep the vibe the same. They want to make sure it feels like a sequel rather than like just a new game, basically. I appreciated all of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's so early on. Like, we don't even know if it's going to get funded. I think it's going to be funded, but it's hard to say what it will actually look and feel like. And what 2017 is what they're aiming for, something like that.
A ways off, which makes sense.
Yeah, I think the Psychonauts had a very distinct vibe to it, kind of combining the character platformer with elements of adventure gaming in a cool world, and I'd be down for more of that, even if it's not necessarily air quotes modern game design, because they seem to do well with their niches. So,
What about you, Tyler? Like, if they just released a 3D platformer exactly like it was in 10 years ago, obviously more technologically advanced and, that sort of stuff, but do you think that would fit into this market?
well, I mean, what would they do outside of that? I mean, they're doing this for fans of the original, right? Yeah. So what would be the point of doing Psychonauts 2 and making it something else? What else could it be?
Creed.
Well, I guess I was assuming that it was going to be, I guess, like you said, jokingly say Assassin's Creed, but bring sort of aspects of that in. Like, I was actually surprised to hear that they were going for another small world. I thought that they would make it bigger, more open.
Yeah, I guess that is the trend, or especially was the trend from some reboots we've seen of stuff, and also this is kind of unrelated, but the move from 2D to 3D, like when all the 2D platformers became these open world games for whatever reason, because that was decided that was the next thing to do, and then to take this, sort of smaller environments and make it into the giant open world thing, I guess. But I've never seen Double Fine as a company that was ever really interested in that kind of scope of a game. I mean, they've just made a very much traditional point and click adventure. So it just never really occurred to me that it would be anything other than the Psychonauts 2 that they would have made if it were funded directly after Psychonauts. That was sort of my assumption. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like that's the direction. Like, if they were to make, Psychonauts 2 immediately after Psychonauts, I imagine they would have probably a similar design.
Yeah, and I liked what Tim had said, too, about how every time he thought of a brain level or a character to jump in, he would just jot it down. So this could be, a decade's worth of notes about the game kind of now getting refined into an actual game.
Yeah, it could be some. He's probably had some thoughts between then and now.
So were you, James, disappointed at all? But ouch, man! Wait, I just realized I got burned. Can we go back and? Oh God!
Okay.
I just need to recover from
anyway,
that. This room is hot, and that was hotter than I felt that burn through the heat, man.
It's all good.
But I was gonna ask before I realized that I just got totally trounced on. when I asked about if he was going to kind of go a little more adult, a little darker,
Yeah.
with the themes, it sounded basically like the answer was no. That was the vibe I got. Obviously, he didn't say that specifically, but his response to it was, well, the first game was kind of lighthearted and mostly in parts, and there were parts that were scary, but,
Yeah, and I was curious about that primarily because, I don't know, the first game, actually, I was thinking about it actually while the show was happening, and the first game does go some pretty dark places. It just deals with them in the context of this goofy world. And I was just curious to know if, since Raz is all grown up and he's doing big boy stuff now, that maybe he might deal with some, it seems like an interesting place to explore heavy themes. And I would hope that they entertain that to some extent, depression and anxiety and whatever that happens to be. Maybe the mind of a gamer gator or something like that, and see how it goes.
Well, they addressed some of that depression and anxiety. I'm just going to breeze over that. They addressed some of that depression and anxiety stuff in the first game, but veiled, right? It was always like the Napoleon level was all about, not somebody freaking out about not being able to live up to what their ancestors or their parents did, and there was a lot of that idea of those complex emotions being expressed very approachably, I guess, or like with a layer of obfuscation. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting for them to go a little darker, but it sounds like they're not going to. I'm interested in the plot, actually, what he was saying about they go back to the Psychonauts headquarters, and he actually, it was interesting to hear the Psychonauts described as an espionage agency, because I'd never really thought of it that way, but I guess that's always been the plot.
There's shades of that, yeah. I mean, of kind of the spy, high-tech spy headquarters. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of a genre fiction that they have their own twist on. It should be cool.
But yeah, I'm interested. I'm intrigued and interested. I also liked talking to him about Fig specifically, because it sounded like they understood, or they said this basically, that the investment part of Fig is their not. It's not the point of Fig, right? The point of Fig is not to have people invest and then make money off of this game as an investor. That's part of what happens out of it, but really it is to help people be helping them fund a game, and do crowdfunding. And I'm glad that they know that. Basically, is the way that is how I came away from that part of that conversation, because it seems to me that if they came in and they were like, oh no, it's totally you can totally make money off of this and it's how you do it, then I would have been like, that's a little weird, but that wasn't what they said.
Seems weird to have the investment option at all then. I mean, either it's an investment or it's not, right? Why would I be interested in investing in something as an investment if I wasn't going to make money, or I wasn't planning on making money? That's the reason you invest in stuff. So I do find it kind of odd to combine crowdfunding, where it's essentially a donation saying, I like you, I like this, I want this to be made, and then traditional investment where now it's partially that, and I recognize that I might lose the money, but I'm incentivized to invest a larger amount because there could be a return on it. I don't know how to... I can't think of for me, if I had the kind of money that I could invest, I don't know if I'd ever be in a mindset where I was I like this thing and I want it to get made, and I also want to make a financial investment to get money out of it, but I'm okay with losing that because I care about this thing. I'd probably trust my money to an investor, and it doesn't seem like, I don't know how good an investment it is, because I'm not. Definitely not a financial expert. If you look at my bank statement, you'll know that. But I don't know if this is if it is a good investment or not. I'm not really sure. I don't feel like a lot of big time investors would be jumping at the opportunity. So because of what you just said, it sounds like the goal isn't necessarily to make loads of cash. It just seems like two conflicting ideas to me: investment and fan support. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll work out, but I can't really wrap my head around why I would be a part of the investment side of things.
Well, to me, it's just personally, it doesn't appeal to me as an investment thing at all. But I like that it's a more, I guess, it's a crowdfunding platform that's more conscious of the backers that are funding it. You know, it's like the way he put it was he was like, we thought it was. He said if they could have just given Kickstarter backers part of the proceeds from the actual game, they would have, but then someone told them that was illegal, right? And so they couldn't. And so they made this new thing where you can actually invest and you can become an unaccredited investor and be part of that.
Or you still have to be accredited at this point.
Right, at this point.
Yeah.
But they're still accepting pledges for unaccredited
So you got to
ones.
know the risk. So I'm not worried about anyone who does invest. I mean, that's their prerogative. But maybe it does create a sort of different kind of accountability on Double Fine's part.
Yeah.
Because now they do have people who are expecting a return, you know, and probably with a certain timeline. But, you know, from watching their work in the past and seeing some of the really candid stuff in the documentary, you know, I don't expect like this to happen without any sort of delays or hiccups, because I can't think of a single kickstarted sort of game project or game project period. We may not know about every hiccup, but that hasn't like gone through. I mean, how many games have been delayed? Big games with huge studio money have been delayed until into next year. The Division just got delayed.
Yeah. Again.
It's a constant thing, these like deadlines and then not hitting them. And it's every company, every developer.
And that's what Tim said, is he said, every game you've played has probably been delayed. Like, that's just how game development works. He said you come up with the schedule at the beginning, and then halfway through the game, you know what your schedule should actually be, and you adjust.
Yeah. You gotta take a guess at the beginning, I guess. But you know, I mean, I'm not even against like the basic crowdfunding where you're not an investor. I kickstarted a hat that says movies on it. So
You did that.
Did you kickstart potato salad?
no, I did not.
You didn't do that.
I'm
one?
not into potatoes.
No, I mean, I appreciate that eventually that, you know, sort of went to charitable causes, but
Well, it's funny because Kickstarter, in a way, is like, it's so much like the producers in real life, right? It's, you can make more money with a flop than with a hit, right? Like, if you do a Kickstarter campaign and you raise a ton of money and then you say, oh, our company went under, you get all the money, right? Like, I know there are safeguards now to put that in, but I figured the idea that there's another level of something that people have to be thinking about here, and there's another level of accountability, like you said, for the companies, because if you have accredited investors investing in your project, you can't just make more money with a flop than a hit. You have to have something to show for it, and not necessarily that Double Fine needs that pressure, because I think they. You know, they delayed Broken Age, but they finished it, and they delayed Massive Chalice, but they finished it. Like, they haven't ever. The only thing that they have like completely walked away from really was Space-Based DF9, and that wasn't crowdfunded. That was early access. So, which, I mean, that whole area is a gray one that we could get into a longer conversation about. But
yeah. It's kind of a bummer because I really liked Space Base.
I did too. I was really disappointed when they walked away with that. But somebody in the chat earlier said too, like, if your game studio has made, you know, dozens of games and there's only one that you can actually consider like a complete failure, like, that's a pretty good track record.
It wasn't. I mean, I had some fun with it, so I wouldn't call it a complete failure.
No, yeah.
It was certainly a disappointment, but
A disappointment is a better way of putting
I've
it. Yeah.
spent like hundreds of dollars on bad cheeseburgers, and so I mean, like, if I spent $20 on Space Base or whatever, it's like,
well, I mean, yeah,
I get that there's like a promise, or you know.
I don't mean to get all down on Double Fine right now. I mean, honestly, I came away.
Tom, damn it.
I
Yeah.
just wouldn't harass them for on Twitter for days and days and days.
Well, I
about
mean, when you
the
have
hamburger, you know.
you know, yeah, people wonder like why anyone, you know, I've seen people sort of on Twitter like, well, you know, you guys only care about this stuff because Tim Schafer is, you know, part of some sort of Bay Area cabal. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe not everyone is just loves the games that they've made over time as much as most of the people I would say that I know who've been playing games for a long time. I mean, would cite would cite Psychonauts as a classic.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, honestly-
people are excited about Psychonauts too because the first one's a classic. I don't think there's any conspiracy there.
No.
Honest to God, Psychonauts was one of the reasons I wanted to become a game designer. Like, that game really was inspirational to me when I was younger. And I was playing it wrong, as I told Tim Schafer, so...
Stealth braining.
Yeah, I literally was playing that game like Sam Fisher. Like, I was trying to sneak up on people. It was terrible.
Our former editor-in-chief, Logan Decker, was probably... You might fight him on it, but he was probably the biggest Psychonauts fan I knew. He would, when he was doing Cat Fantastic, he would just... every once in a while, he would do a question where he just didn't say anything, and the correct answer was Psychonauts. And you just had to know that.
Okay, maybe he's got me beat on that one then. But I really enjoyed that interview. I came away from it
Nice guys.
encouraged by the whole thing. I think that they have a vision for Psychonauts 2 that I am glad they have, I guess, is the way to put it. It sounds like they really know what they want out of it, and they know where they want to go with it, and that's very encouraging.
Yeah.
You know, whether or not that means it actually comes out that way is a whole nother thing that's completely to be seen, but it is an encouraging experience that we just had with them.
And just final note on that is they're not doing it to the extent they did with Broken Age, but they're also going to be making videos periodically, two-player productions about the development.
Yeah.
And I highly, highly recommend you guys watch Double Fine Adventure if you haven't, just because it's a nice, candid look at how hard it is to make a game, and it'll probably be interesting to see some of that with Psychonauts.
Like Tim said, free on YouTube. So if you just search in YouTube, Double Fine Adventure 2-player productions, you should be able to find it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's move right along. We have had a crazy busy week, and Tim Schafer, the time hog that he is, took up the first half of the show. So what we're going to do is a little bit of a lightning round of just kind of the big things that happened in PC gaming this week. We don't really have enough time to just go into one thing, but so much stuff happened this week. And we talked about Psychonauts for the first 50 minutes of the show.
What happened?
But you know what? I love Psychonauts, so that's okay. So basically, I've got a list of at least a dozen things that happened, or trailers that came out, stuff like that, and I just kind of want to go through them and see which ones stick. You know, we're going to be throwing spaghetti on the wall. If something interests you, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, lightning round. So, did either of you guys see the Star Citizen 2.0 trailer?
Yes.
I did.
Yes.
Any thoughts?
It looked like a cool game that I would like to play when I can play that game.
Yes.
You guys don't have to go that quick.
Okay.
Wait.
I agree. I thought. God, now I have to go. Okay, moving on.
No, you can talk about it.
No, I just agree. I think this is the first trailer that I've seen where I've seen a lot of cool Star Citizen things, but this was the first trailer I saw of Star Citizen where I was like, this looks like a really cool game I want to play. Like,
I saw actually a YouTuber, I forgot who, they made a video where they were jumping through like star systems chasing this one giant ship together, and one guy was like calling out commands as like he was role playing like a commander and saying hop to do starboard, whatever the terms are for, and
Port, aft,
starboard, poop deck, I don't know. Like
you would not do well in space.
That'd be bad in space. But it was gorgeous. It looked like a lot of fun, like controlling the ship. They looked like they were having fun. For the first time since Star Citizen's been kind of rolling around in the PC gamer collective consciousness, I was like, holy shit, this looks kind of neat, and I want to play it. So
I agree. Now we can move on.
Okay.
That was lightning enough for me.
Let's go.
So this one is a long title. The title might take up the whole lightning round.
Okay.
Dr. Langeskov, the Tiger, and the Terribly Cursed Emerald, a whirlwind heist, which I talked briefly with Tim and Greg about. This is Crow's new game. You guys have all played it, right? You both played it, and I played it as well. And
It's
basically, we're not going to talk about the plot right now because it is literally 15 minutes long and it is free, and so go play it.
Yeah.
If you have a PC that has any kind of graphics card in it, you can probably run this game. There's just no reason. Just go play it. Basically, if you can't remember the name, just type in Crows into Steam or like into Google, and you'll figure it out. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a blast.
Yeah, it was great. And it is only like 15, 20 minutes, but you can you can definitely replay it and like
Notice a lot of things.
look around, find a lot of stuff, which is.
You can do things differently, like not significantly, but get some different dialogue.
And this is William Poe. Is it Poe?
Pew. I think it's Pew.
I don't know.
I actually Googled the pronunciation of this
Really?
name earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, William Pugh, who was sort of one half of the team that made the standalone version of the Stanley Parable.
Yeah.
Along with Davey Wreden. And yeah, so this is like the first sort of thing his sort of new studio that he's heading up has put out, and they put it out free. And he said because we have lots of plans coming in 2016. I thought it was interesting. You pointed this out too, James, that Justin Roiland, who's the co-creator of Rick and Morty, was in the credits as a voice, but I have no idea where he would have been a voice because there's, without spoiling anything, like I don't think there was a him voice, but I know
Maybe it was the guy screaming with the tiger.
maybe
Maybe he was just the tiger.
that could be it. Maybe he was. The
Maybe
tiger.
he was just the tiger. Well, the two know each other, right, through VR.
Yeah, I was going to say that
Yeah.
because I interviewed Roiland a while back. If I can just segue this into my own article. And they talked about a little bit about how they're working together on VR games. So this is sort of the first concrete sort of indication of their collaboration, which is a cool thing. They seem like two really like-minded people with a similar sense of humor. And this is like interesting also in like the incredible contrast it has to Davey Wreden's very like introspective, personal kind of like intimate dialogue with the player sort of game in The Beginner's Guide, his follow-up. And then you have William, what was it?
Pew. Like a church. Pew.
William Pugh.
Or like a laser gun, yes, James.
It's much more on the Stanley Parable side of things.
Yeah.
It feels like a really direct continuation of that idea.
That was the vibe I got too. As I played it, and this might be mean, but I played it and I was like, "Oh, that's where the talent in the Stanley Parable went."
Oh, I don't think that's true.
I know that's mean. I know. I'm not trying to knock Davey Wreden at all. I just like,
Wreden
had a
actually, I
moment.
believe, was sort of the original
Yeah, definitely.
creator of the mod, and then Pew sort of came on and they worked together on the standalone one. So
I'm
Beginner's
sorry,
Guide
Davey Wreden.
has
I
some
didn't
really
mean to be
good
mean that way.
qualities, even though I did kind of review it sort of poorly
Didn't
because
mean
it just didn't like settle in with me as something quite as affecting as some of the tearful Steam reviewers felt.
Well, yeah, and the intent of these games is pretty different, I would argue.
Yeah, no, I
very different, yeah.
I'm sorry, I was
Now you have
I
to
was a jerk.
backpedal from
Yeah,
Oof.
backpedaling. No, but what I meant was basically that the whatever the hell the name of this Long Crows game is, Whirlwind Heist, we'll just call it that.
Okay.
That felt to me like a sequel to the Stanley Parable, whereas the Beginner's Guide did not. I guess that's the way I meant it.
But both, I mean, the Beginner's Guide, kept the sort of unreliable or maybe over-reliable narrator. I don't know. It kept sort of the interplay between player and narrator and design. Both of these games have done that, so that is still a theme in both of them, and that's interesting. And I guess other games that have played with that, Bastion has. But I love seeing anyone experimenting with just the form of interactive games. Her Story played with it a bit. The narrator being unreliable or in some other way, like making use of the interactive nature of games was sort of like words aren't coming to me, Tom. Lightning round.
Well, here, real quick before we move on, Schnitzel Frenzy says there was a tape recorder at the very beginning of the game. You can take it and play tapes that are scattered throughout the game.
Yeah.
Justin Roiland was the voice on those tapes.
I missed that.
I missed the tape recorder entirely.
Dang.
So
we all have to
play
replay
that.
it.
yeah, we got to play it again.
All right,
There's
thanks.
another 18 minutes of my life gone. Jeez.
I know.
No, it's really fun. You guys should watch it or play it, watch it, either one. Moving on. Overwatch, I want to talk about really quick because it's me and I like Overwatch a lot. I'm the only one here who's played Overwatch.
Yeah.
But the beta is shutting down on Thursday, and I'm going to cry about that. It's shut down to like January I know.
What are you gonna do with yourself?
Nothing. I'm just gonna no. The answer is I'll finally start playing Divinity Original Sin Enhanced Edition. That's the answer.
Oh, there you go.
But the other thing about it is that they announced all of the maps and heroes that they're going to be adding to the game after the game launches will be completely free. They'll be patched in. They won't be DLC.
Nice.
Which I think is just one of the smartest things they could have possibly done for the health of that game. I think it's just brilliant that they did it.
So if I understand it correctly, that you can have Overwatch for $40.
Yes, you buy Overwatch for $40 base fee. You can pay
Forever and
$60
ever.
for an Origins edition,
Right.
which basically just has skins and then items in other Blizzard games. And that's coming out in June or something like that.
Seems like a good deal.
And then you get all of the maps and all of the heroes after that for free.
Cool.
Which is awesome. It's just awesome. It's just a really, really smart move.
In contrast to something like Battlefront.
In contrast to something like Battlefront or something
Yeah.
like a lot of other multiplayer shooters.
What do you buy in Battlefront? I haven't played it.
There's a season pass.
Oh, of course.
$50.
Of course there's a season pass. What was I
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah.
Free characters and maps, always good.
This one just got brought up in chat, so we'll jump down to this. Paragon. Epic's game that's like a MOBA third-person shooter kind of thing, and made in Unreal 4. They've been teasing it for 5 weeks, and it's been ridiculous how long they've been teasing it. But we finally got a gameplay trailer.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like they're targeting Smite in that sort of market and that type of game, but it actually looks pretty cool to me. It was I was surprised that another MOBA interested me, but it looks pretty cool.
I can't not think of Shepard's dialogue wheel whenever I hear the name of it, though.
Paragon. Yeah. There was a moment where Andy they teased the name of the character they were going to announce the next week. The marketing was out of
bad.
It was just over the top. And Andy Chalk, our news writer, was he guessed it was some name like Krongrak or something like that. Yeah. And he was I bet it's going to be a big awful looking alien. And then it was a big awful looking alien.
But what are they gonna do? I don't.
I have no
I don't
idea.
get it because to me, maybe if I was into MOBAs, I might be piqued. My interest might be piqued. But as someone who's not really at all, this was just white noise to me. Another one of these. It seems like big developers, rightfully so, want to get a piece of that pie. And to me, I don't know, what are they going to do that separates themselves, or what do they have to do to separate themselves from anything that's out there already?
I'll tell you exactly what.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for this?
Sure.
This is going to be really hard to understand because I've thought it through. They're going to make it in Unreal 4, and it's going to look super pretty.
Oh, wait.
That's the plan.
No. I mean, we don't know that. We don't really know anything but that trailer, right? We don't have a lot to go on.
Yeah, they just released about a minute of gameplay, basically. But yeah, there is a question about that. But the thing that interested me about the trailer was I was like, wow, this is really pretty. So I think that'll get people. I think that'll get some people.
Unreal's known for the shine.
Well, we can move on from Paragon. Let's see. Division being pushed back. The beta got pushed back out of December. I think we already talked about that a little bit. This is kind of an unfortunate one that we'll go to next. Skylake CPUs are bending
By themselves?
under the weight of certain kind of
Pressure
heavy
from their
pressure
parents?
coolers. Pressure from their parents, yes.
Yeah, one of ours bent.
One of ours bent when we attached a cooler to it. And that kind of sucks, man.
It does.
I don't know what else to say besides that.
Well, and I guess people are trading blame.
Yeah.
I guess these CPUs are the I don't know the terminology.
Wafer?
The wafer.
Thinner? Yeah.
They're thinner than normal, and they're supposedly within the cooler manufacturers are supposedly within the regulations or recommended regulations that Intel gave them, but they're still bending things, and no one really knows who to blame.
It's unfortunate.
Sure, yeah.
It's
So
just a
be
shitty
careful.
situation.
Yeah, be careful.
Just basically PSA, be careful if you're attaching a CPU to a Skylake or a cooler to a Skylake CPU.
Yeah, I guess be gentle. Do we have any sense of how widespread the problem is? Is this it happened to us, so we were like, oh shit, and then
It happened to us. It happened to at least a couple other sites that we've quoted in our article about it. So it's not. It probably is not an epidemic or anything, but it is happening.
More common than it should be.
It shouldn't happen at
guess.
all. Is what the answer is.
Be careful.
But yeah, so that's kind of unfortunate. If you do get a new CPU, just be careful. Be informed. Here's a weird one as we continue this weird Last Week in PC Gaming lightning round. Deleting games from your Steam library. You can delete games, finally. They said that Steam was like really oddly against this for a while, and now...
Well, I can see why they would be against it. I mean, it's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it does no harm to you to have it. You can hide it. You just own it. But I guess if you're really like embarrassed about owning something so much that you want all record of it gone, you can destroy it. People keep citing Bad Rats as something they want to delete.
Why?
I don't know why so many people bought Bad Rats in the first place, given that its reputation was being not good.
Speaking of rats, I have 3 copies of Vermintide in my Steam library.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How?
I have a public beta test copy, a closed beta test copy, and the main copy.
Oh, you can just-
Okay, well I guess if you like have an old beta thing stuck in your library, you could get rid of it.
That's why I'm excited.
I have a
about it.
That's
hypothetical. If you guys had to delete one game in your library.
Ooh, that's not like a crappy beta test thing. Like I just said?
yeah, not
Okay.
yeah,
Like a real game.
Real game.
Wow.
There's no way to say this without being mean, is there? You just gotta be brutal.
I got
about
one.
something. What?
Assassin's Creed 3.
Ouch. That's the only one I've beaten.
Really?
Ouch.
I've been on this rant. I've been on this rant on this show.
You should have played a better one.
That you know. That's what I keep being told.
Yeah, you beat
There are
the
some
bad
good
ones.
ones.
I guess. I guess another thing that makes sense are like free to play games that like once you hit play game, now it's in your library, but you don't play it anymore, and it's like you could get it back at any time. I think Clicker Heroes I would and will get rid of.
There was a period of time, Tyler Wilde, where I would constantly see your Steam account playing Clicker Heroes.
I had it open because
Yeah.
you can just leave it open all day and you just get stuff. Yeah,
It's the best game.
I was investigating the psychological effects that constantly having Clicker Heroes open might have on the psyche. I just haven't written that up, this was research. This was for science. I didn't actually want to play it.
I feel like my answer, I don't have a specific answer, but I have a criteria. I would go through and look at whatever game I search for most in my library and delete whatever had the most letters in common with the beginning of that game so that I could get to it quicker.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like if it was Civ, I would like delete something with a C at the beginning or something like that.
Like Clicker Heroes.
Like Clicker Heroes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never installed that game.
You
I have
should.
pride.
Even
should
worse.
play
Oh yeah, those clicker games.
Moving on, continuing the lightning round. Telltale's making a Batman game, which is hilarious because we were talking on the show like 2 weeks ago about like Telltale should just make all of these games, ha ha ha, and like
Yeah.
now they're making a Batman game.
Batman seems cool, but I don't want to play as Batman.
No.
No, I think it's like someone who used to be at Telltale on
Jake
Twitter.
Rodkin.
Yeah, he was saying that they had he was kind of reminiscing on Twitter or like in a screen of a conversation he posted about how back when he was there they had this this crazy idea where you play as Commissioner Gordon and you just have to like clean up Batman's crime scenes, and he's like screwed everything up. He's ruined all the evidence, like bringing DNA everywhere and people all beaten up and bloodied and I mean, he didn't go into that much detail. That's my imagination taking the idea of like imagine a game where you have to go to Batman's crime scenes basically and sort out what happened.
I'd be interested in playing someone like an ancillary to Batman, someone who's like kind of just on on the perimeter, as opposed to like
You're probably going to be Batman though, because
but how
That's what I was
interesting
gonna
can that
say.
get?
Is we brought this up in the office when it was first announced too. Of like, I don't want to play as Batman. It'd be funnier to play as Commissioner Gordon or better or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no possible way you're not Batman in this Batman game.
right? Like, because like you take that pitch right to them and go, so okay, we want to make a Batman game, but it's not going to star Batman. In fact, Batman is not even in it.
You need to be laughed out of the room.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Straight up. Unless you
guess
made it like a
Gotham.
villain game. If you made it
Gotham
like
doesn't
about
have-
the Joker,
I mean,
Gotham.
yeah, the show.
Oh right, but Gotham is like
Bad.
Gotham is like
Is it
that's
bad?
its whole.
It's not very good. But
Well, I've never seen it, but like so I have no opinion on the quality of the show. If you
Sure.
enjoy Gotham, that's fine. It's just that I thought the whole deal with Gotham was that it was like earlier, and it was all the
Yeah.
backstory of that world. So that's kind of where the appeal is of that. And maybe they could do that. Maybe they could do a prequel to Batman sort of thing and get away with it.
I just don't know how you make Batman an interesting character. I'm sorry, like there's plenty of good Batman comics out there, but I don't know if his psychology has ever been the main draw. It's always been
It's easier than Superman.
sure, yeah, but what are the moral choices going to be?
Do you know how hard it is to make a Superman video game?
Do you
know
punch
what
the guy or not punch him?
You know what the final boss of the Superman 64 game was?
I don't.
A series of tornadoes.
Yeah.
That was the final boss.
Well, see, Superman's thing is that he always has to decide between do I go in for the punch on the villain, or oh no, there's a bus full of people now to eat at. So I have to say, because he always has to minimize loss of life, right? So then that's what puts him in dilemmas where it's
And Batman never kills is his code, right? So you can't really break that code. You can just how bad do I almost want to kill this person?
yes.
I love it. I love it if every fight scene when you finally subdue the villain, you're given a choice in the Telltale game of don't kill villain, and if you ever click kill, the game just ends. It's just game over.
You lose.
So moving on,
Batman wouldn't do that.
let's keep going on lightning round. A Star Wars Battlefront developer said that it may, quote, lack depth for hardcore fans. And I want to bring this up because this is something we mentioned on the show a couple times of Star Wars is kind of meant for a wider audience and a casual audience, and is that such a bad thing? And that's basically what he said as well.
I sensed it as soon as I got into the first beta that I was like, oh yeah, this is made for my 10-year-old nephew.
Right. And so it's just, I just wanted to bring it up because I thought it was interesting that you actually heard a developer admit it, to a certain degree. And it's not even admit, just be we made this game with a wide audience in mind. And if you're looking for a Counter-Strike level shooter, you probably aren't going to be happy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that seemed pretty clear to me that was the intent behind the game, was that anybody, even people who don't really play a lot of games, could get something out of it.
Well, then Tyler knew it already, so we can move on.
No, I mean, I'm just even if it's, I mean, I think the problem with that thinking is that, I don't know. I don't know what the problem with that thinking is, Tom. What's the problem with that thinking?
The problem with that thinking is that it's taking too long, and this is a lightning round.
Damn it, Tom.
Pew, pew, pew.
I need to collect my thoughts here.
Nuclear Throne is out of early access, and we brought this up actually with Tim Schafer just before the show. Nuclear Throne is this cool game, this kind of bullet helly sort of thing. Vlambeer, yes, is the developer, and it just really, without telling anyone, just was poof, hey, we're out now, 1.0.
They told PlayStation Experience people.
Right. Well, they told because they're coming to console now. So
but
that's why they told them.
They did not. Yeah, the PC just we were out. They were out. So.
But it's cool. If you're interested in bullet hell games, look up Nuclear Throne because it's no longer in early access.
Wes, I don't want to misquote Wes, but Wes was saying he would make an argument for Game of the Year, maybe not of the year, but in there somewhere.
Wes in the Twitch chat is now saying in all caps, "I love Nuclear Throne."
There you go.
So yeah. Wes Fenlon endorsed, everyone.
Oh, you know it's good then.
This is a good one for Tyler.
Uh-oh.
New game announced, at least today, if not today, very recently. Hatoful Boyfriend Holiday Star, the sequel to the popular pigeon dating simulator that you reviewed.
I'm 1 for 8 on the commentary here. For these lightning round topics. I don't think it's going to go any better. This one I might just trail off into confused, stayed up too late playing Rocket League. I didn't actually review Hatoful Boyfriend, though.
Oh, you didn't? I could have sworn you did.
No. Someone else did. But I love what it is.
Yeah.
So what is Hatoful Boyfriend? What is the original?
Well, it basically starts out like a dating sim with pigeons. But
wait, you can't just breeze over like that.
Yeah.
It's a dating sim where you are dating pigeons. And you are not a pigeon?
I don't know. Are you a pigeon? I can't remember. I think you are. I don't know.
It.
But the point is, it starts out
matter.
like that, but then it's kind of like trying to explain Undertale to someone, where it's you don't want to tell them too much, but it's more than that, and it becomes this really really interesting game once you sort of know its secrets.
So this is a holiday version.
Yeah, this is the sequel.
It's straight up sequel. It's not just a little like.
That's what I've been told by our website. Yes, and it's called How to Fool Boyfriend Holiday Star. So if you were interested in the first one, there you go. That was announced.
I wish I had a How to Fool Boyfriend.
This is a 3-part lightning round part.
Oh.
There's like a ton of Final Fantasy news that just happened. Final Fantasy VI, it was confirmed, is coming to Steam next week. But it's like the weird mobile port.
It sucks.
It just looks so bad.
Sprites? What's wrong with sprites?
All the sprites got replaced with these very smooth-looking things, and it just looks awful. It just looks. It looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like somebody, like a young person, like was like, "I'm gonna reskin Final Fantasy for me."
I wish they would do with these games what they did. By they, I'm referring to game developers in general.
Yes.
With Monkey Island, where you could like actually the new look to Monkey Island was amazing, but they also had just like a little toggle, and you could go back to the old graphics.
Yeah.
Like that way, all the work you spent with the updating the graphics, you can put it in there, but I think most people want the original sprites.
Yeah, I agree. But the main difference I see between that and Monkey Island, or this and Monkey Island, is that the Monkey Island Enhanced Edition version looked nice.
Actually looked really good.
These sprites just look bad. Like they didn't change the backgrounds at all. So if you're interested in that, like it still looks good from the environment art. But and if you're interested in playing Final Fantasy VI, and you never have because you never had the means, like it's a great game, so you should play it now that it's coming to Steam. But it's unfortunate that it's not the original classic SNES version.
It's too bad there's no possible way to play the original somehow.
Yeah, we'll let you figure that one out. But in other Final Fantasy remake news, Final Fantasy VII, which is not yet confirmed for PC, but every time they do anything for it, the Final Fantasy VII remake is, it says PlayStation 4 first, which usually means and everything else later.
It's also being developed in Unreal.
Right, so it'd be easy.
I mean, free money, guys. Come on. It's not free money.
It's not free money, but yeah, it really seems like
more money.
My God, like just looking at Steam, I don't know. Like 5 years ago, I never would have imagined, like even in our reviews section on the site, like this many JRPGs and Japanese games in general.
It's nice.
I'm really happy about it.
Like now, it just seems like a given that Metal Gear Solid 5 came out on PC. Like, of course it did.
Obvious. Yeah.
But I mean, it strayed away from the PC for so long, and so many are coming back and realizing. And I think one of the great things about Steam is like. You can take a 15-year-old game or a 20-year-old game and like it can have a home on Steam, and on consoles more and more. It used to be that you had to like sell a disc basically until like Xbox Live Arcade and that kind of stuff came around. But I don't know. I think so many opportunities were being missed for years and years on PC, especially from Japanese publishers. And it's like finally there's a realization that like it's this great library of games people can continue to play. Yep.
But Final Fantasy VII, the remake, got a trailer with gameplay in it, not just cinematic, and it looks amazing. Like, we just talked about a Final Fantasy remake that looks bad. This Final Fantasy remake looks gorgeous. It's just absolutely drop-dead beautiful, and part of that is probably the fact that it's being developed in Unreal 4, but it's just really, really breathtakingly beautiful. And the only thing I have a problem with is that they completely changed the combat system.
What?
They announced that they were doing this before, but if anybody has played Final Fantasy VII before, if you haven't, you should. But if you haven't, it's turn-based kind of, where like every character has this little like time bar that fills up. When the time bar is done, they can attack, right? And now it's like it looks much more like Final Fantasy like 10 and 13 in its combat system, where you're controlling one person. It's 3D. You're slashing and doing moves like that. And we knew this was coming, but actually seeing it happen, I kind of miss the turn-based a little.
Sure, but I mean, Final Fantasy VII is still there. You can still play it the original way. And I'm more interested in, I don't know, we've been in games games have been around long enough, we can have adaptations and interpretations of older stuff and see how it might be interpreted through like a modern design philosophies. And that's more interesting to me. Maybe like from the perspective of a fan, they might be like, but I want the same. And I get it, but I don't know. Open your mind up maybe. And,
apparently I misspoke. The Final Fantasy X was also turn-based or time-based. So I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, below it.
Yeah, that's interesting, James. Just like the idea. I like the idea of like I'm gonna now remake Max Payne 1, but this time it's turn based.
Well, yeah, no, I mean,
Turn-based
okay,
RPG.
well,
I like that idea though. Of
I've been thinking about this. Like in 100 years, you know how Shakespeare plays are adapted into all these different settings and time periods, and you know their original like poetic mechanics are stripped or rearranged. I like the idea of getting to a point in games where you have. Maybe Kojima like remakes Mario or something in 10 years, and I don't know, like that's cool to me. This isn't quite to that, but I know it's episodic. It's got a new battle system, and it's being interpreted in a different way, which is it's more incentive to play and more incentive to revisit than just like, well, it's his biceps look slicker and like realer.
I agree. I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I think that's a definitely a nice sentiment. But there is also a part of me that knows that if they just made his biceps slicker, like I would just play it. Like I love Final Fantasy VII. So
Sure,
biceps technology is like the main reason I play video games.
Oh God!
First-person
You're in like a renaissance right now. Then with the new Unreal and everything.
Love the biceps.
Good rain.
Um, The last piece of Final Fantasy information is that there was a leak, kind of, from SteamDB or whatever, where a bunch of games that could potentially come to Steam, not guaranteed. Let's preface this very clearly. Halo 3 was in one of these SteamDB leaks a long time ago and never came to Steam. So none of these things are confirmed, but everybody's gone to the Rapture. There was Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2. And then the biggest one was there was Half-Life 3. But all of that is to be taken with a huge mound of salt because a lot of those games that get leaked in this way don't actually show up.
Yeah, they were able to like manipulate the new help site to get like package names for real package names for stuff, and
like
they of course there's one for Half-Life 3, but it could have been made 6 years ago.
Yeah, and they also, I think,
nothing in it.
SteamDB came out and said developers can, while before they're out, they can name that package information whatever they want. So it might be just like an inside joke. Someone saying Half-Life 3. That seems like
That's funny.
a plausible inside joke, or
But Final Fantasy X and X-2 is exciting.
That's possible. Yeah.
Paul Neurath or his studio. Right.
Story.
I remember them being very, very difficult.
Yeah, they're very, very difficult. So I don't know. It's cool that we have another one coming for those people and for people who haven't played a System Shock game. But
real quickly, also Wes in the chat says if Final Fantasy X and X-2 aren't actually coming to PC, I'll eat Tyler's hat. That's how confident I am. Tyler's hat is pretty dirty.
It's pretty grubby, yeah. You don't want to eat this. My head sweats a lot. So.
But isn't it weird that System Shock is getting a remake and a sequel in the same kind of span of time by two completely different developers? There was even a tweet, right? Or there was a tweet or a Reddit message. I think it was on a Reddit thread about this, where this person was like, I was a developer on System Shock 2, and I didn't hear about this until this got announced just now, and me and one of the other developers were joking about we should kickstart a sequel to the game, ha ha ha, and then it got announced.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it though. They're pretty small. Yeah.
It's almost definitely going to be kickstarted or a crowdfunding campaign, because that's the way that Underworld Ascendant was.
Right.
The spiritual successor to Underworld.
Working on that and this,
that's big.
I feel like that's a lot of hiring to do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it can't be done or won't be done. Just wow, it's a big and to do a sequel to such a beloved series.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is.
No pressure, guys.
Well, that's I think we covered everything that has ever happened last week.
Wow.
Well, there's probably lots more, and if you do know of lots more, let us know right now. We're going to jump into the Twitch chat Q&A portion of the show, so if you have a question for us about anything that's on your mind this week in PC gaming, tag us with @PCGamer in Twitch chat and send us your questions that way.
Must be lightning related.
And must be lightning or shock related. Yes. No, and if you are listening on iTunes or watching on YouTube, you are always welcome to come to twitch.tv/PCGamer Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time.
Was that a question?
That was a question. No, that is when it is.
Where are we? Is this the Atlantic Ocean?
I forgot.
No, it's Pacific. The Pacific. We can see the Pacific Ocean basically
right.
from our window.
Does it count? Where does it begin?
The bay. We can see the bay either way.
I don't know. Water stuff.
Water stuff, man. It's tricky.
Yeah.
Tricky water stuff.
Think Clink asks, how will, I think this is for Tyler,
No, don't.
asks, how will lighting affect your dank Garfield memes?
How will lightning affect them?
I think so.
Well, that because see, when the dank memes die, you use the lightning to reanimate them, and then you just keep them going forever. You keep bringing up the same stupid things about Mondays forever and ever, and Jim Davis will never die, and neither will Garfield.
Some good Twitter tips, guys.
Yeah, just
Legend Thresh Dairy, which is a League of Legends reference, asks, what do you think about NA getting a best of 3 and EU getting a best of 2 in League of Legends? I actually hadn't heard about that, but that sounds lame. So that's my hot take on that. Is I think any sort of disparity. I don't like that.
I never heard about this. It's bad. Tom says.
Well,
Tom's take.
I've always had complaints with different regions having different qualifications at all. Like every esport does this, where like North America and Europe will usually be on the same system competitively, and then like Korea will have its own thing, or China will have its own thing, or like the last region will just like be doing its own thing for qualification for championships or anything like that. And I really, really don't like that. I think that they should be standardized across all platforms when you're competing for the same end goal, right? Like in the Blizzard World Championships, obviously there can be other leagues that have their own thing, but again, obviously that's really, really hard to do. I can't even read that name, so I'm just going to read their question. With Rainbow Six announcing all future DLC will be free, will other multiplayer games be forced to do something similar to avoid losing players?
Well, I mean, I don't know that Rainbow Six will necessarily like be the poster child for like how to do it, because people are still miffed you pay $60 for that. That said, I mean, Overwatch is doing something similar, so I think it's a trend that's happening, and it's a welcome trend. And it certainly doesn't split the player base. You've seen games like TF2 and CS:GO, and all those games like live on updates consistently, and you've seen their player bases grow or stay at a healthy rate. So I don't know that Rainbow Six is going to be the catalyst, but I certainly think it's a trend.
Jumping off of that, Billy Bobble asks, James, are you still playing Rainbow Six, and how long do you think you'll continue to be active on it? Because you were a reviewer for it.
Yeah, and
you gave it a 90.
I really think that's a great game. I played a bit this week. After I get done reviewing a game, sometimes I just want to take a break because it's work. I certainly want to go back to it, but also the Bloodborne DLC has been calling my name. Sorry, it's a PS4 game. Forgive me. I've been meaning to go back. I'm going to play tonight because I'm gonna write more about it, and I think I could stick with it for the foreseeable future. It's not something I feel like I have to play every night, but I don't play games that way. Yeah.
In8 Music asks, what do you think about esports in general, and do you see casual games such as Rocket League with tournaments? Real quickly, just want to address the question, what do you think of esports in general, is kind of like, I like competitive gaming, but to anybody who thinks that esports or competitive gaming is like a fad or something that won't exist soon, it's here to stay. It's making money. People like it. It just stop having the argument about like, is it a real thing? Because that is not an argument to be had.
We have a whole section to pro
PC Gamer
competitive
Pro.
gaming. So
Sports aren't real.
We clearly think it's here to stay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That being said, I do want to take this opportunity because you brought up Rocket League. I've been surprised with how slowly Rocket League is growing as an esport.
Yeah, what does it do?
Game.
What does it do? I don't know what it needs to do, because it seems to me it has everything. Like, it's fun to play. There's a high skill ceiling. It's super fun to watch.
It is. And it's easy to understand.
It's also instantly readable. And I've talked about this before, so
I'm surprised.
I don't know. Maybe I just need to get into the competitive Rocket League scene and just start covering stuff. But because there are tournaments, there is competitive play. It's just not. I guess for whatever reason, it's just not growing at the rate something. It doesn't seem to be. It doesn't appear to be like in the public consciousness as something that would ever sort of like grow like LOL or CS:GO or Dota.
But maybe we're biased by having already seen LoL grow to what it is, right? Because the only reason that Heroes of the Storm became an esport as quickly as it did is because Blizzard just shot money out of a cannon at it until it became an esport. Which, for the record, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's what it made it successful.
It takes years. I mean, the main difference I see with Rocket League is that it has a very simple and complete rule set. And as far as the meta, there's different strategies when playing as a team. You can have different players in different positions, use sort of different formations, and have team members with different sets of skills. But the cars are essentially all the same, and there aren't like the sort of complicated strategies that you'd find in like Dota. I saw Chris Thurston, who's our editor of Pro, wrote about this like insane Dota play where someone used like this, just used these interlocking sort of mechanics of the game to have like an invisible copy of himself running back and forth, and then invisible players running through, or a visible copy, and then like noticing that his copy of himself running back and forth like moved like 10 pixels when someone bumped into it, and then like knew where the team was. Like, Rocket League is about, wow, they pulled off that friggin' sick dunk and like did a sweet backflip and dunked it, and that was awesome. But there's no like large scale, like all these characters and abilities and things mashing up. There are no abilities. So I mean, maybe that hinders it to some degree, because people don't feel like they can get like really super deep into like the specifics of numbers and elements of the strategy in that way.
You know what I think needs to happen? Cities need to sponsor Rocket League teams. If the city of San Francisco had a Rocket League team that was playing against like the Boston Rocket League team competitively, everyone would be watching Rocket League.
Well,
Go to the VR scene.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it is so much more like a traditional sport, because like even in Counter-Strike, which has, which more than say Dota or MOBA has sort of like real world metaphors for guns, but you go into, the bullet spread and all these little details, whereas Rocket League is cars hitting balls. So it's like, it's interesting. I hope it becomes bigger. I want to be on a kick-ass Rocket League team.
I agree. I really want to see Rocket League succeed. I'm not 100% sure how they get there, and maybe it is just time. Maybe it is. Hopefully. We'll see. But that's all the time, speaking of, that we have for today. Thank you very much to James and Tyler jumping in, and thanks again to Tim Schafer and Greg Rice from Double Fine, who are now long gone, but I still want to thank them for being here, and I hope you guys enjoyed hearing from them. We'll be back once again next Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time, same place right here, twitch.tv/PCGamer. If you are at all interested in commenting or letting us know how we are doing, or if you like us or not, if you hate us, that too, please go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/PCGamer, and this will be live today to comment to your heart's content on, or you can go to PCGamer.com/podcast, and it'll be the first post there. I'll say guest Tim Schafer. You'll know which day we mean. But thank you very much to everyone who joined us, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Goodbye.